Welcome to the comprehensive tutorial on building two-factor authentication system using React, Session Context API, and API integration. In this project, we will learn how to create a secure login system, handling user session using React context, and API integration for real-time authentication. As we follow along to this video, we will cover the following key highlights. Number 1. User login system. We will create a login form with user credentials and handled through the API call. Number 2 is the two-factor authentication. After a successful login, we will have to set up your 2FA and scan QR code using any authenticator app and verify the TOTP, which is the time-based OTP. Third is the session management. We will store user session using React's context API and persist them across page reload using session storage and cookies. Number 4 is the protected routes. Only authenticated users will be able to access certain part of the app, such as homepage and 2FA setup. Number 5 is the Tailwindcss. We will style the app using Tailwindcss classes to style our components. By the end of this video, you will be able to understand how to create a robust two-factor authentication system in React, API integration using Axios, handling user session. So don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss the videos like this one. So let's get started. Alright guys, so before we just go to the Visual Studio Code and start building our React application, we first really need to understand what all the APIs that we already have, and we are going to make use of them. So for this, our React two-factor authentication project, these were the APIs that we have built in our previous video where we built this two-factor authentication system using Node.js. And we exposed all these APIs, and this is the base URL http localhost 7001/APIs, and here is the list of the APIs that we can use to build our React 2FA project. We have the register API, login API, logout API, MFA setup, MFA verify, and MFA reset. If you have missed the backend project, then you can just click on the card above and jump to it directly. So now let's go to our Visual Studio Code. Alright guys, so this is where we left our last video where we have completed our backend project for the multi-factor authentication. Now in this video, we are going to work on the front-end part of our same application. So if we just go and quickly see, then if we go to the terminal and run our backend application, then I will just go to the backend and we will have npm run dev, and this is going to run our application on localhost 7001, and we see the database is connected. And let's go quickly and let's check any of the APIs. So maybe I will just go here and I will go and do the login. All right, and we will need to provide a username. So let's have a username and we provide the password. So I will have the password, and the password is 123456, and let's see a username Dipesh. And if I send it, then we see that we have a status 200, and we see the response that user logged in successfully and the username is Dipesh, MFA is active. Now let's see how we can use the same endpoints and the APIs into our front-end application and build our React application. I'm going to create a folder here and I will name the folder as client. And now what I will do is let's open a new tab in the terminal. So here I will go to the client, and we need to first scaffold our React project. So for that I'm going to use the Vite. So what we will do is I will write npm create Vite @latest, and I'm going to use dot so that I want my application to be scaffolded in the client folder. So I'm going to hit enter, and now here what we will need is need to install the following package. I'm going to say yes. Now we are going to select the React application, and we will be using React in JavaScript. All right, since now we have our application ready, let's go and do the npm install, which is going to install all the dependencies. Okay, so now all our dependencies are installed. Now we can just run our application. So I will have the npm run dev, and our application will be starting on the localhost 5173. All right, so since it is not getting started directly on the browser, we will have to copy take the localhost URL and put it on the browser, what we can do is we can go to our project. Let's go to the vite config, and in the vite config we will make some changes. So I will have the server, all right, and I want my application to be open on port 3001, and I will say open as true, so that is going to open my application directly into the browser. Okay, so I will just close it and rerun the project again, and this time you will see that the application is starting on the localhost 3001, and this is our React application is. Now what we will do is first let's go through the project structure that we got using the vite. So this is our vite config file. We have our package.json file which contains the scripts to run the application, and we have the dependencies of React and React DOM. Then we have the index.html, which is the HTML file where we have the div with an ID root. Then we have the source folder. In the source we have this main.jsx, which is a pretty standard where we have the app component. Then we have the index.css. Then we have the app.jsx, which is the dummy code we will see on the browser. All right, so let's remove all this. So I'm going to remove this first. I will also remove this, and we clear this. We make it as an empty. Okay, we also remove this. We don't want it, and I will do all the cleanup part. Then we have the app.css, which have some pretty standard CSS. Let's remove that. We don't want it. And in the assets, we have the react.svg. So that's all the pretty standard React application we have. Now, before we go and start anything, let's start with installing all the dependencies into our project. And then we are also going to use the Tailwindcss for this project so that we can get the ready-made CSS classes and we just use them. So for the dependencies, what we need is I will do the npm install react router DOM, because we are going to create the multiple pages. So we will need the React Router DOM, and we will also need the Axios as we are going to have an API integration. So let's install the React Router DOM and Axios. All right, so we have installed the React Router DOM and Axios. If we go and the package.json, then we can see it here. So we have installed them. Now we will also going to use the Tailwindcss for this project. So let's go to the official doc. So I'm going to go here. I will have the Tailwindcss. I will click here, and then let's go to get started, and we go for the installation, and we are using the framework. So we are going to have the vite. So I'm going to click here, and this is how we are going to do it. So first we have to install this. So let's install the Tailwindcss, PostCSS, and AutoFixer. So I will go here and I will put it here. All right, and this will be installed as a dev dependency. So we can go and check. So these have been installed here. All right, the next step is we need to initialize our Tailwind config file and the PostCSS config file. So I'm going to put here, and we will see that we have both the files here, postcss.config.js and tailwind.config.js. Okay, now once we have this, we will just have to take this content and put it into our Tailwind config. So let's go to the Tailwind config. I will go here and put it in the content. Then we will have to put these Tailwind directives into our index.css. So let's go to our index.css. I will remove everything and I will put it here. Okay, and the last is we can just use the npm run dev and run our application. But before that, I will just copy this and put it in our app.jsx so that we see that Tailwind is being applied here. All right, so we have this. Now let's run our application. So I will run the npm run dev, and we see that we have the hello world. All right, so we have this underline. If I remove the underline, then we see that there is no underline. So that means the Tailwind classes are working fine into the project. Okay, so we have the basic setup done. Now let's create the folder structure for our application. So what we are going to do here is that let's go to the source, and I'm going to create the components folder, which will contain all my components of the application. Okay, then I'm going to create the service folder, which is going to contain the API integration part. So I will have the service. Inside the service, what I will do is I'm going to create two files. One will be the API.js, which is going to contain the Axios basic setup, and other one is the auth service. So let me have the auth API.js, which is going to contain all the integration part with the APIs. Okay, we are not going to write anything here at this moment. We will do it later on. Then we are going to go here and we are going to create one more folder, which will be the pages, as our application is going to have multiple pages like login page, setup two-factor authentication, verify two-factor authentication, and the home page. So here we are going to have multiple pages. Next folder I'm going to create is the context API, where we are going to manage the session of our application. So I will have the context here. Okay, inside the context context, let's create the file. So our file will be session context.jsx. All right, so this is going to manage the session for our application. Now in the components and the pages, let's create the pages first. So the first page I want to create is my login page. So that will contain the login part. So I will have the login page.jsx. I will write rsc and we are going to have a login page here. Okay, the next page which I want to create is the setup 2fa.jsx, which is going to do the 2fa setup for our user. So I'm going to go here. I will have the RSC and I will have here setup 2FA. Okay. The third page is the verification part where we are going to verify the time-based OTP. So we are going to have the verify 2fa.jsx and let's create the component. I will have the verify 2FA. I misspelled the verify. So we have this verify 2FA. And the last page is once the verification is done, we want to take the user to the home page. So let's have the home page.jsx. I will go here, I will have RSC and I will use here home page. So you must be wondering what this RSC is. I'm using a React snippet. So I can just show you quickly. If we go to the extension, then I am using some React snippet, which is this react.js code snippet. And this snippet basically gives you some shortcuts so that you can create your components quickly. So here you can see there are a lot of ways and small commands which will help you to create the class-based component and everything. Yep. For Tailwindcss also, I'm also using this Tailwindcss IntelliSense, which actually gives me the suggestion for the Tailwindcss classes. Okay, let's go back. So I'm going to go here and now we have all our pages ready. I will also create the error page. So I will have the error.jsx and let's create the RSC and I'm going to have here error. Okay, so we have all our pages ready. Now with these pages, we will also need to create the corresponding components where we are going to write the logic part. So here I'm going to start creating those components. So the first component which I want is my login form, which will not just contain the login form, but it will also contain the register form. So I will have the login JSX in the component. Next I want is my two-factor authentication setup. So I will have the JSX where the logic of the API integration and everything will be here. All right. So you need to understand that I have created a video in the past as well that is more related to the design pattern where pages are only responsible to purely display components or representational components, whereas the any component which I am writing in this part, which will also contain the logic components. All right. So it's kind of a container presentational pattern. Now let's create the third one, which is the to verification.jsx. So it will be 2fa verification.jsx. All right. So we have all these three created here. Now what we will do next is we will go to the service, and first we are just going to complete our service part where we will just have to create all the functions, and then we can use those functions into the respective components. So let's go to the API part first. I will go to the API, and here what we will do is let's import Axios. We will be using Axios to do the API integration. Then we are going to do the export default. So we are just creating the base URL first. So I will have the axios.create. This will be an object, and here I'm going to have the base URL. All right. And our base URL for the server is, if I go here, then we will be able to see that the base URL for the server is 7001 port, and we are running it on the local host. So this will be http://localhost:7001 is the port. All right. And then we have the /API. So if we want to see that, I can go here. I can go to the source. Then I can just go to my index.js, and in the index you will be able to see here that we have the /API/auth, and either we put it till API or we can put it till auth, but it's up to us. But I will just keep it till API. Okay, so we have this till API as my base URL. So this is what we are going to do it in our API.js. And now let's create all the functions into the auth API. So in the auth API, first I will do is I will create export constant register. So this function will help us to register a user. So here I'm going to use the async await arrow function, and then I'm going to use the username. If we want to register a user, we will need a username and we will need a password. Okay, once we get the username and the password, what we will do is we are going to return, let's use the await, and then we are making an API call. So it will be API. So we have to first import this API. So what I will do is I will go here, import API from API. Okay, so this is going to give us the base URL and everything, and on this we need to have a post API here. All right, let's pass the URL /auth/ register. Now this /auth/ register, we can just see it everything into our routes. So first go to index, it's the auth here, and if we go to the routes, then we will be able to see all the routes here, /register, login, and everything. Okay, let's put /auth/ register, and then what we have to do is we have to pass our body. So in the body, I'm going to pass the username and then I'm going to pass the password. All right, so this is what we want to do in our register. Now I will just copy the same and I will use it for the login. Now I'm going to change this to login. For the login also, I will need the username and the password. And what I will do is instead of the register, this will change to login. All right, and with login, I will also use the with credentials true so that I can just forward all the cookies. So I will go here, I will have the with credential true. Okay, so we have the URL, we have the body, and then I'm just adding with credentials true. Even though after login you establish the session and get the cookies, but I will just add it with credentials true here. Okay, now we need the third endpoint. So I'm going to copy this. Let's go here. I have the third endpoint as auth status. All right, we can go and just verify here. Third endpoint is the auth status. So that's why, I mean, if you haven't watched the previous video, I mean, it's important if you can just go through and get all the APIs and then you can just see them here. All right, now the third endpoint was the auth status. So I will go here, I will change this to auth status. Oops, it's only status, and this is a get endpoint. So I will have the get, I will just remove them. All right, and we will also don't have anything for the body, and we just have the get auth status, and we pass with credentials true so that it will forward the cookies. Now I'm going to copy it and I'm going to create the logout user, and this also I'm going to change it to login user instead of login. Let's go and let's change this to logout. So I will have the logout and I will have the user. I will change this to logout. So let's have the logout. I will change this to post. This is a post API, and since it's the post API, we will also need to pass a body. So I will just pass an empty body. Okay, so we have the logout as well. Now let's create the 2FA and the verify. So I'm going to copy, I will put it here. This will get changed to 2FA / this will get changed to set up, and this will be set up 2FA function. It's a post. Here we don't pass anything for the 2FA and we keep the with credentials as true. Okay, let's do the verify. So I'm going to go here, put it here, and let's have the verify 2FA. So this will get changed to verify 2FA. This will get changed to verify, and with verify we will need to pass a token that we want to authenticate. So here we will need a token. So let's have a token, and then we have with credentials true and everything is fine. And the last one is the reset 2FA. So if we want to reset our two-factor authentication, we are going to have the API for that as well. We have the reset. Here we are going to change this to reset. This is also a post, so we will have an empty body and we don't need anything here, and I will save it. So these are all the API methods that we are going to use it, like the reset, verify two-factor authentication, setup two-factor authentication, logout user, auth status, login user, and register a user. So now we have already done the integration part. Now we just have to consume these functions into our respective components. So I will just close them. Now we don't want them. All right, so I will also close this. I will also close the auth route. Now the next part what we will do is I will just go to my app JSX and create all our routes here. I will just remove everything. Okay, and I'm going to first create a div, and I'm going to give this div a class name as background slate 900. So let's have the background slate 900, and I want this to be screen 100 VH. All right, after that I'm going to create another div, and inside this another div what I will do is I'm going to create a class name. Let's have flex justify content as center. I will have the items as center, and I will also have the edge screen to this. So if we go and check, then I see that you have this color. I'll just zoom in, then you have the background color, and then I'm creating another div which is having this flex justify center and item center, which is going to get my login screen and 2FA screen into center of the whole screen. All right, now here here what I will do is we need to create the routers. So I will use the router provider here. Let's have the router provider, and we are going to give the router, and we have to create this router. So to create this router, let's create the routes for our application. So what I will do is I will just go here into my source folder, and I'm going to create the routes file. So I will go here, I'm going to have the routes.jsx. So this is going to give me all the routes. So in the routes, what I will do is first let's have this export constant router, and this I'm going to use the CreateBrowserRouter. So let's have the CreateBrowserRouter, and this is going to contain an array of all our routes. First what I will do is we will also need to have some protected routes and non-protected routes, but for now we are not going to think about it. We are just going to display all the routes so that we know that okay, all the routes are working. I'm going to have the path here, and my path will be /login. And on this login, I want to load my element. So let's have an element, and I want to load a login page here. So I will have the login page. So we need to import this login page. So what I will do is I will go here, and I will have the import of the login, as it's not getting auto imported. So I will have the login page, and this login page will be coming from the /pages/login page. Okay, and the next one would be the error element in case if there is an error on this route. So for that we are going to load the error. Okay, so let's import the error page as well. So I will have the import error from /pages, and then we have the error page. So we have the login and the error, and similarly we will also have all our other routes. So I'm going to copy and put it here, put it here, put it here, and the second one would be is / on the / I'm going to have the home page. We will import it later on. Then we are going to have the setup to FA. On this I'm going to have the setup to FA component, and this one I'm going to have the verify to FA, and this is going to have the verify to FA. Okay, so we have all the routes here. Now I will just import them. So I will just copy, put it here, and put it here. I'm going to change this to verify to FA, and that will be coming from the verify to FA. I'm going to change this to setup to FA. This will be coming from the setup to FA. Okay, so we have all this. Oh, okay, we missed the home page. So let's have the import home page from /pages, and then we have the home page. Okay, so we have all our CreateBrowserRouter and all our routes here: login, home, setup to FA, and verify to FA. Now what we can do is we can just import this router into our app.jsx. So what I will do is I'm going to come here. I will have the import router from router. So I will have the /route, and now we can just use this router here. So our routes are set up. We can just go and check. So what I will do is our application is already running. So let's go and let's check. So I will go here, and if this is /, then I will just go to the login maybe. Then we don't see anything here. Let's go and inspect. So I will go to the inspect. I will go to the console, and I will just increase the size, and we see that the requested module source route.jsx does not provide an export named default. All right, so let's go back and let's check. So I will go here. We see that we have the router here, and we did not exported it. So what I will do is I'm going to remove this. Okay, and then we can go here, and I can have the export default router. Okay, now it should work. So if we go back here, and if we refresh it, then we don't see anything yet. Oh, we see here. So we see the login page is here. We go to the /, then we should be able to see the home page here. So if we go and do a /setup to FA, then we see that we have the /setup to FA. All right, so all our routes are working. We want that not all our routes are public routes. We want them to make it as a protected routes, because only login route is a public route where user can come and log in, but rest all the routes like the home page, setup to FA, verify to FA are only accessible to the authenticated user. So for that, user has to authenticate themselves first. So let's go and let's make them protected routes. So I will go back to the Visual Studio Code, and here what we will do is I will come here, and I will create a object here, and on this object what I will do is I will first have an element, and I will name this as a protected route. I know right now we don't have a protected route element, but I will just name it as for now. All right, with this all the children of this protected routes will be our home page. So I will go here, I will have a array, and in this array we can just define all our childs. So I'm going to take out this, I'm going to take out all the 3, I will cut them, and then I'm going to just put it here. All right. So now we have our element as a protected route, and all the children's of this protected route is the home page, setup to FA, verify to FA. All right. So this is the small change we need to do. Now we need to create our protected route, which is actually going to contain the logic. If a user is authenticated, we will going to display them the home page. If a user is not authenticated, we're going to throw them to a login screen. So let's go and let's create that. So I will go to my components. I'm going to create a new component and I will name it as protected route.jsx. All right, so this is going to be a very basic simple component, not too much into it. We just need to check if the user is authenticated or not and all those stuff. And here simply I'm going to create constant. I will has is logged in, and I'm going to make it as true. That will show us that okay, the user is logged in, and then we are just going to return a simple that is logged in. If this is true, okay, the user is logged in, then we are going to use the outlet from React Router DOM. But if this is not, then in that case we are going to navigate the user. So we are going to use the navigate component too, and we are going to take it to the user to the login screen. All right, so that's what we wanted to do in our protected route. Currently we are hard coding this, but later on we are going to fetch this value from our session context API that we are going to create. So for now, just assume that it's true. Now we want to import this in our route. So let's go here. I will do import protected route, and we see that we have the protected route. Let's go and let's test it. I'm going to hit enter, and we see that we are on a 2FA. I can go to the login. We see that we are on login. For now, what I will do is I will just change the color so that we see it. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to make it as 100, and we see that we are on a login page. Okay. Now, if I want to go to a home page, we see we have a home page. But let's say if a user is not authenticated, then this will become false. And as soon as you do, now if I try to go on a home page, then you will see that I am redirecting to the login page since I am not authenticated. All right. So our protected route is also working. We are going to change this once we write the context API. Now what we are going to do is let's go and let's have our login form first. So I will go into login form and let's create the login form so that we see at least something on the screen. So what I will do is I'm going to write RSC so that we can get the component, and let's start writing the JSX part. So I'm going to just remove this as we are going to have the form here, and I will close the form. All right. In the form, I will just give some classes so that it looks a bit nicer. So I will want to give my form have a background as white. It has a rounded large. Then I want to have some shadow. So I will have the shadow as medium. Width should be full, and then I want to give a max width as a small screen so that it will be visible properly on the small screen, and on the larger screen also it will have the same max width. And I will give the max auto so that it comes on the center horizontally. Once we have the form, what I will do is let's create a div, and I'm going to give the class name here for this div, and let's have a padding top as 6, and in this we are going to give the h2 tag, the heading of our form. So I will have the h2. Let's give a class name here. I'm going to give the class as I want text to be 3xl. My text should be in the center, so let's have the text center. Then we want to use the font, which is the extra light font. All right, and here I will have the login. Okay, now we can just go and see. If we go here and if I refresh, we don't see anything here because we are not using the login form anywhere. So what we can do is we can just put the login form in our component, which is the page. So let's have our login page here, and here we can just define the component. So what I will do is I will have the login form, and we should be able to see the login here. Now let's continue to create the form first. So we have the h2. We have the login here. Once we have the heading, which is the login, we are going to create a divider. So let's have a divider. I'm going to give the class name for the divider as text gray 200. I will have the margin top as 6 and margin bottom as 6, and this can be a self-closing tag as we don't want any content to be written here. Okay, after the divider, we are going to create our a p tag where we will have some content written there. So I will have the text should be in center. We want the text gray 600 as the color of the font, and then we want the text size would be large. So I will have the large, and then we want the font should be light. So I have the font light. Now let's give the content here. So here I will have we are glad to see you again. Okay, so this is how we are going to look like. We are glad to see you again. The screen is a little bit zoomed, so this is the original screen size, which is the 100%, but I'm keeping it bit of zoom so that you can see it a little bit better. So I will go here and I will zoom a little bit. All right, after P, let's create the form other elements. So I will have a div. I'm going to give the div class as padding 6. Inside that, I'm going to create another div. We're going to have a class name as margin bottom 4. And then now we can create our label and everything. So I will have the label class name as text gray 600, the color of the font. Then I will have the text as small, and inside the label I'm going to write user. We have the username. Now let's go and let's have the input. I will have the input. I'm going to provide the label as username. I will have the value. Right now I will not provide any value. Then we will have the on change function. Right now I'm not going to provide anything on the on change. Then we have the class name. So I will have the width as full, padding as 2. I want border and I want rounded corners, and I have the margin top as 2. I will also change this to like this. Okay, then I will need to have a placeholder. What I will do is I will just close it so that we can have this break here. And for the placeholder, I will have enter your username. All right, and we want this field to be required. So let's have required here. Okay, so this is how our username will look like, input field. So this is how we'll see it here. Now what I will do is I will just copy them so that we get all the other fields as well. So I will copy again and enter your password. Now we will keep this same. This will get changed to password. This will get changed to password, and everything will be same. Okay, we also forgot to give the type, so let's have a type here. So I will have the label, then we are going to give the type, and this will be text, but for the password we will need the type as password. So I will have the type, we will have the password. Oops, this will be type password. Okay, so we have the password and everything. Now we will have to create the button. So I'm going to have a button here, and this will be of type submit. So let's have the submit. I'm going to give the class name to the button. I will close this also, and the class name will be width will be full, background will be blue 500 for the button, and then we want the text inside the button should be white, and we want the padding y-axis as 2. We want rounded as MD. All right, so we have this, and now inside the button we can just define the login. So I'm going to have a button closing tag, and let's have a login here. So I will have the login. Okay, and then after the button we will have that if a user doesn't have any account, then he can just create the account. So here we can write a paragraph, and what we can do is we can have don't have an account. Oops. Then in that case what we can do is, oh, this should not be quotes. Then we are going to have a link here. So let's have a link tag, and I will have this link to, and here I can write create account. Now we can go and see that this is how it looks like, but we want to use the same form for our register as well. So when we click on it, we should be able to see that this gets changed to create account. There should be a confirm password, and this gets changed that you already have an account. Then you should have a login, and we should go to the login. So for that, what I will do is I'm going to create a state variable, and I will just change it on the same file. So let's create the state variable. So I will have the constant, I will have the is register, and I will have the set is register, and this will be equals to the use state, and I will have the initial state as false. Okay, now the initial state is false. First we will have to change this. So right now we have the login. So what I will do is I'm going to have that if is register. If this is true, then we want something, and if it is false, then we want something. So I will just cut it, and if it's a false, then we want to display login. If it's a true, then we want to display create account. All right, so we are done for this part. Similarly for this one also, we will need to have a different font. So if it's register, we want to display something. If not, then we want to display something else. Okay, so I'm going to take this, cut, put it here, and if it's a register a user, then in that case I want to show looks like you are new here. Okay, so we are done with this. We have the username, we have the password. We will also need one more field, which is the confirm password. So I'm going to copy, I'm going to put it here. We will write enter password again. So this will get changed to again. We are going to have this as password. Label will be confirm password, and the rest everything will be the same. This will get changed to confirm password, and we also want to show confirm password only if we are on a register part. So what I will do is I'm going to have a condition here that if it's register, all right, if this is true, then we have to display something. If this is false, then we have to display something. All right, so here I will put it like this, and here I will just cut this and I'm going to put it here. All right, so we have a conditional confirm password here. Then we will also do the same thing for our button. So if this is register, then we have to display something. Then in this case, we have to display here create or maybe register, just a register. And if not, then we will have a login here. I will just remove this. All right, and this one is the last part where we want to apply this condition. So what I will do is I'm going to have, if this is register, if this is true, we want to display something, which false, we want to display something. Okay, so if it's false, then I will cut this, put it here, and here I will have the already have an account. Okay, so we have the different text here, already have an account, and this one we will also provide some classes here, because when we were seeing it here, this was not looking nice. So let's provide the class here. So I will have a class as padding top as 4. I will have the text to be in center. I will have my text color as gray 500 or maybe 600, and then I will have the text size, which will be the small. Okay, and in this also we will have a different text. So if it's a register, then we will have something else. If not, then we will have something else. So I will have the create account here, and I will have the login here. Okay, so now we have it. Now what we need to do is we need to have an on click, so that whenever we click on this link here, then we have to toggle everything. So that's where we are going to put the on click. So I will have an on click here. So let's have an on click, and on this on click, what I will do is I'm going to create a function, and I will just set that is register whatever the actual value is. So if it's a true, then I will make it as false. If it's a false, then I will make it as true. So now if you want to go and check, if I click here, then you see that everything is getting changed. Create account looks like you are new. Username, password, confirm password. You have a register button. You already have an account. Then click on login. We have a 2 question mark here. Let's remove that. So we have this. Okay, let's go back and let's see why there are 2 question marks. Okay, so we have to remove this one. All right, so we have done this. Now what we want to do is we need to just handle the submit event on this. So I will go here and I will have an on submit here. So let's have the on submit, and this on submit will also be a conditional. So if it's register, then in that case we need to handle register event. If not, then we need to handle a login event. All right, we don't have these 2 functions. Let's create those functions. So I will go here. I will have constant handle login, which will be an arrow function. I will have a constant handle register, which will be an arrow function. And before we do anything on this, we will also need to handle our error part, and we need to handle our message part, and we also need to handle our inputs. So what I will do is let's create the state variables. So I will have the username. I will have the set user name. This will be equals to the use state, and I will have the empty state for the username. Similarly, I will have the password, and then I will have the set password, and this will be equals to the use state. So there are multiple ways you can manage the forms, but I am using the simplest way. You might be knowing that what I'm trying to do is, but it's a very simple way of handling the form. Okay, you have a confirm password, then I will have the set confirm password, and which will be equals to the use state. All right, and if there is an error, let's handle the error state. So I will have the set error, which will be equals to the use state, and I will have the error, and then there will also be a message. So I will have a message set message, and this will be equals to the use state, and I will have the empty message. Okay, we have all this. Let's handle the form first. So here I will have the username. So let's have the username. On change, what we will do is if there is an on change, then in that case we will have an event, and we will use the set username, and we will have event dot target dot value. Okay, so we have this one. Now we will have the password. So let's go and let's have the password. I'm going to change this to password, and this will get changed to, this is going to give me an event. I'm going to have the set password and same event target dot value. Oops, not validation message, it should be value. Let's do the same thing for confirm password. So I will have the confirm password, Here I'm going to give that this is going to be an event. We are going to have the set confirm password, and we type it here event dot target dot value. Okay, so we have all this, and we also have the buttons ready. Now we want to handle this the handle register and handle login, but before that, just before the button, I would also like to have a div which will display the error message, and it will display if there is a success message. So how I will handle is I'm going to create error, that if there is an error true, then in that case I will create a paragraph, and in this paragraph I will have the error, whatever the error is. Similarly, I will just copy and I will put it here, that if there is a message, then I'm going to display a message here. Okay, and I will define the class here. So it should have a text red 500, text should be small, and margin bottom as 3, and I will define the same class name to the message. So I will have the class name here, copy, I will have the same classes, but instead of the red, I'm going to change this to green, and this will get changed to 600. So everything is done now. We can just go and check. There will be not much change here. We just need to handle the register and the login button. So let's go here. I will go here, and first let's do the register part. So in the register, I will get an event, and first I will do that event dot prevent default, so that my page doesn't get refreshed on the submit. And then let's have a try catch block. Okay, if there is any error, I will just do the console dot log, and I will have the error dot message, and with this I will also do the set error, and I will set error something went wrong during user registration. Okay, so we have this error message set here. But if this is not an error part, and if everything is fine, then in that case what I will do is I will have a constant, and I will get the data back, and let's have this async await. So we are going to make an API call here. So I will have the async, let's have the await, and we are going to call our register function. So we are going to have our register function which we have defined in our APIs. So if we have a service, we have auth API. So let's have that. So what I will do is I will go here, I will have import, I will do register slash login user, and they both will be coming from the dot dot slash services slash auth API. So we have the register, and we just call the function. For that we need to pass the username, and then we need to pass the password. We are taking the confirm password just to make a little bit different feel about the login form and the register form, but ultimately we are not using, or we are not storing anything related to confirm password in our database. Okay, so once we do this, we get the data back, and after getting the data back, what we will do is we will have the set is register as false. Okay, so that we can, after registration, we go back to our login part, and apart from that, what we will do is I will also set the message, and here will be the data dot message. So whatever the message, we receive it back, and then we have to reset our username and the password. So I will reset the username, I will reset the password, so that we get an empty. All right, so we have done this. Now if you want to try the register a user, then we can just go and try. So what I will do is we go to the create account. Let's register a user. I will register a user with the page. I will have the password. I can see the password, that means I have done something wrong here. Let's go and check. So I can go here, and I see the input type is text, and here I see the type is password, so I have misspelled the password, and here also I will just refresh it again, and let's give a try again. So I will have the username as the page, I will have my password, I will have my confirm password, and I click on register. So I will also go to the network tab. If I click on register, then we see that something went wrong during registration. All right, and if I give on the console, then I see that we have this cost issue. Let's go and fix that cost issue. So I will go here, let's go to the backend, I will go to the index, and in the index what I will do is I have the local host. So we have this issue here, so the local host spelling is mistake, so I will have the local host. Okay, now the server is restart again. Now we can give a try. So what I will do is whenever we have this errors, we also need to clear this. So let's go and fix that as well. So I will go back to our login form, and in the login form I see that we have this error. So whenever there is an error, I want to clear them. So I will go here and I will clear them. Okay, so let's go back, refresh it. I will go to the create account. With the create account, I will have the page, I will have the password, I will have confirm password, and I'm going to click on register. And this time when you click on the register, you see the user registered successfully. If I go to the network tab, oops, I don't see anything because I was not in the network tab, I can try and create a new user again. So I will go here. I see the confirm password is not getting cleared and the user register successfully is also not getting cleared. So let's do that. So I will go here and we will just copy this, put it here as confirm password. I'm going to copy, I'm going to put it here. Okay, so we have also cleared the confirm password, and we will also need to clear the data message. So what we will do is whenever we click on this and whenever we change this, I'm going to go down and here. Yeah. So whenever we click on the set is register as this one, we will also need to hide all the messages. So what I can do is I can just remove this from here and I can have the handle register toggle. Okay, so I will have this function here. Okay, and I will just write this function. So I will go here on the top and here we can write this function. So I will come here, I will have a constant, I will have the handle register toggle. Okay, this will be equals to, and what we were doing is whenever we click on it, we were just doing the set. So I will have the set is register, so whatever the register value is. But apart from this, we will also need to have the set error, and we set the error as empty and we set the message as empty so that we don't see the error messages. All right, let's give a try again. So I will just refresh it. I will go to the create account and it's not working, so we made a mistake. Let's go back. Why it's not working? So I will go down here and we see that we have this click function. So I will just remove it and now give a try. So I will refresh it. Now if I click, okay, it's still not working. So we made a mistake. That is, this should be is register. All right, now if we go and if we click, then we see that it's working fine. So let's have another user. This time I will create Nikesh. I will set the password. Let's have confirm password and I'm going to click on register. But we will go to the network and I will click on register, and here we only put on image, so I will put on all or maybe XFR, and we see that we have this register, and here we will see that it's 201 created, and we also see that user registered successfully, and we see here user registered successfully. If we go and check in the database, so I will go to the MongoDB database, and here you will see that we have two users. We have I will zoom in, we have the page and we have Nikesh, and the isMFA is false for them. All right, so we have this. We have also done the register. Now we can also give a try for the login user, but we don't have any function for the login user. So now let's write the login user. So I will go back, and one more thing is we wanted to change the color of our background. So I will go here, and this was 900 or maybe 800. All right, so this is how it looks. Okay, let's go back to our login form, and this time let's write the handle login function. So I will come here, I will have the I will just copy this, I will put it here. Okay, I will also copy the try catch block, so because it's very similar, so I will just copy the try and catch part. Okay, copy. Now I will go here and I will put it here. All right, so I will also get, this will be an async, this will be login user is register as. So I will remove this. We can set the message, we can just clear it. We don't have a confirm message here. For the console, we will log the console error message, no confirm message. And for the error message, what we can do is we can have invalid login credentials. Okay, so we have this login part. Now if we want to try, we can just give a try. So what I will do is I will have here the page, I will give the password, and I'm going to click on the login. And when I click on the login, you see that user logged in successfully, and we see that user logged in successfully is MFA false, and this is the message we see here, and we have the username. Now with this, we will also go and check that in our application cookies, we actually establish a session. So here you will see that we have this session ID, which is the connect session ID, and we have this session value. And if we go here, we don't have anything in our session storage. So now it's time to create the session context API, so that after that context API, we can create our two different route, which is the setup 2FA and verify 2FA and the home page. So let's go and let's create the context API first. So what I will do is I will go to my context. So I'm going to go to the session context, and here what we will do is we will start by creating a session context. So I will have the session context, and this session context will be equals to the create context. Now once we have this, I will also have the export constant and we create a use session using the use context hook so that we can get the session values whenever we want. All right, so we have the use context and we provide our session context here. Okay, so the next is we want to create the session provider. Let's have the export constant. I will have the session provider, which will be an arrow function, and this is going to accept the children. So let's have the children. Okay, so we have the children here. Now in this, what we can do is we can create two functions. One is the login and one is the logout. So I will have a constant login. All right, and this is going to accept the user data, which is the user has been logged in. I will show you from where this user will get the user data. So whenever you log in, you will pass the logged in user information to our session provider, and this is going to put it into the login. So whenever we have this, what we are going to do is we are going to create a state variable here. First, let's have a constant to identify that whether is it logged in. So is logged in, and I will have the set is logged in. This will be equals to the use state, and initial value will be false. Initially the user will be not logged in. All right, along with that I will also provide the user information that we have, the logged in user information. So I will have the set user and I will have the use state as initially null. All right, so we have these two, and now what I will do is once we have this, we are going to set the is logged in as true, that the user is logged in, and we are going to set the user values whatever we have get, and those values were user logged in successfully, is MFA active or false, and what was the username. So we just store that information here. Okay, so I will just keep as it is, and then now next we have the constant. We have the logout, which is also an arrow function. All right, and on the logout also we receive some data, so we will just take that data, and what we will do is that if we get the data back, that means we got some positive response from the server. In that case we will do is logged in as false, and we will have the set user as null. Okay, so we have these two, login and log out. Now what we will do is I will come here and we will just return our context provider. So I will have the return, we will have the session context dot provider. Okay, and then we are going to have some values which we are passing here. So we have the values, and in the value we have the logged in information, we have the user, we have the login function, we have the logout function. Okay, and in this we are going to pass the children, whatever the children we have. So this is how we write the context API. So this is how we write the context API. It's simple, and here it should be user data. So I'm going to copy and put it here, the user data. Okay, if I hover this, then I see that children is missing in props validation, since we are not doing any prop validation here. So what I will do is I will just go and disable it for the entire file. Okay, so that we don't get this error message. Now we have written the session provider here. We need to use it in our app.jsx. So let's go to the app.jsx and we will just wrap it here. So I will have the session provider, and inside the session provider we are going to have the route provider, and I will put it here. So we have this. Now whenever the user logs in, I have to provide the information to the context API. So what we will do is I will go to the login page first. All right, and in the login page what I will do is I will do all the navigation part from here, that after login what will be the next page that the user will see. So I'm going to use the navigate, and this will be equals to the use navigate hook. I will also take the login from the use context. So I will have the use session, and from the use session I will take the login. Okay, because I have to provide the information that the user is logged in, and I will also do that once the user is logged in. So I'm going to create a constant. I will have the handle login success, that if a user is logged in and the login is successful, then in that case what I will do is I will have the user data here, and I will pass the same function to the login page. So I will have here on login success, I will have this handle success, and this user data will be coming from the, so I'm going to copy this. Let's go to our login form. I will take it as a prop. Okay, since we are not handling the prop validation part, I will just disable it for now. And once we have this on login success, that means here we see the login is successful. I'm going to call this function and pass the information that we have. So we will pass the data. So I'm going to pass the data here. Now once you pass the data here, if I go to the login page, then you will get the user data here. So what I will do is I can just simply do a console log and check the information. So I will come here, I will have the console dot log and the logged in user data. Let's log that user data. So I will have the user data. I will also write once you log in, then you have to pass that user data to the session context API. So what I will do is I will have the user data. All right. And then we will also see that if this user data has a flag, which is the is MFA, or maybe we will write it later on once we log in the user information. So I will go back here. I will try to log in. I will log in with the page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to click log in. We see it's a 200, and along with 200 we also see that invalid user credentials, and we see that the user logged in successfully. So we are seeing both the messages here. Let's go and let's check. So I will go back here in the login form, and in the login, whenever we handle the login, what we have to do is we have to set the message as false. So I'm going to copy this. Yeah, so here I will set the message as an empty, and here maybe I will set the error as empty. Okay, so if there are any values, then it will just remove those values. Similarly, here I will set the error as empty, and here I'm going to set the message as empty. Okay, let's give a try. I'm going to refresh it. I'm going to have the page. I will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as password. I'm going to click on login, and we see that it's logged in, but we still see that this is invalid login. Okay, maybe we will leave it for now, and we will first check for this one. And here you will see that we have that is MFA false. So what I will do is I will copy this value. I will go to the login page, and in the login page, what we will do first is I will come here, and then here I will write that if user data dot is MFA active, then in that case, if it's a false, then in that case we have to navigate to the user to the setup route so that the user can set up two-factor authentication. So I will have the 2FA. All right, but if it's not the case, then in that case I have to take it user to the verify. Since the user has already set up, it's true, that means user have already set up. So let's take it to the verify to FA. All right, so we have this login user data. If the MFA active is false, we navigate the user to set up to FA. If it's true, then we navigate the user to verify to FA. All right, so we also have this login user data. So if I go to the session, then in the session we get this user data, and we have this is logged in true. Okay, so the next part is we will work on the setup to FA UI. So we will go here and we will work on this setup to FA. So before working anything on this part, we will just go and get this 2FA here. So I will have the 2FA setup component. I will just import it. So I will have the import 2FA setup from slash. I will have go to the components, and in the components I will go here. All right, so we have this. Now if we go and just log in, then we should be able to go there. So I will have the page 6. I will log in, and I see that we get an error. The error is does not have an export name default. Okay, let's go and let's check it. So we have this 2FA setup, and we can go here, and we did not write anything here. So what I will do is I will have the RSC. All right, and now it should work. Now we should not get this error. So I will go here. I will have the page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I will log in, and we can just do a small debug and check. So I will go to the source. All right, I will go and click here. I will have the page. I will have password. All right, and I will also go to the other file, which is the I will open this. I will go to the source. I will go to the pages. I will go to the login page. So let me go to the login page, and I will also have a log here. When I click on the login, I will go here, then I will go to the next step, which is the message. So we get the data, we do the password, we clear this, and we get on login success. And then when we get on login success, we display it, we get this login, and basically this login is undefined. So we have some issue here. So we have to fix that, and that's why we get an error. So let's go and let's check that. So what I will do is I will clear everything. I will go to my session context. Okay, I will go back to our session, and let's go and let's check. So what we see here is that we have this. So this will get changed to the brackets, and now it should work fine. Restart my server once. So I will kill everything, and let's restart a server fresh. All right, and now if I try, so I will have the page. I will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now we don't see that there is any error, but the page is not getting navigated to a setup to FA, and that could be the reason that in the protected route we have set up this hard-coded value. So if I go here, then we see that we have set up here the hard-coded value. So what we can do here is that now we will just remove this value and we will have a constant. We will have is logged in, and this will be coming from the use session. All right, and now we can just use this value. So now let's go and let's give a try. So if I have the page 6 and if I log in, then we see that we go to the setup 2FA routes. And now let's build the UI of this page. So I will go back here. All right, I will close my session. I will close my login form. I will close this one. I will close everything which I don't want it. So we now only want the setup 2FA and 2FA setup.jsx. So what I will do is first let's start with this 2FA setup.jsx. Okay, and here I will start with the JSX part first. So I can just copy the login form, a part of it, and then we can just take it from there because it will be a bit of similar with that. So what I will do is I will just copy. I will go here. I will remove it and I will put it here. So I'm going to change this to a div. So let me have a div. This is not a form, so I can just remove it. Then we will have the PT. We will also have a very similar h2 tag, but this time the content of the h2 tag will be turn on. Oops, there will be no code. So I will remove it. It will be turn on 2FA verification. So let's have a verification. Okay. And after that I will have a very similar HR, which will be this gray text, and then we are going to have a same text, and I will just remove this as well. And here we will have scan the QR code below with your authenticator app, and I misspelled the authenticator. So this will scan it with the authenticator app, and then the rest what I will do is I will just remove it, and this will get changed to a div. Okay, we can go and check. So this is how it looks. Now we need to have our QR code. So I will have a div class name as P6. Inside that I will have a div with a class name as flex justify center. Then I will have my image. I will have a source to that image. For now I will just keep it like this. I will have an alt to that image, which will be 2FA QR code, and then I will provide the class name to that image. So I will have the margin bottom as 4, border rounded MD. Okay, I will close my image tag. Okay, so I have the image. Now with this image, what I will do is I will also need to have a div which will define the secret code, which we can just copy paste manually. So what I will do is I will have a div. I will create a class here. I will define a flex items center margin top 3 and margin bottom as 3. Now inside this div I'm going to create a horizontal line HR which will contain some text inside it. So this is a pure Tailwindcss and HTML part. So I will have a div with a class name. I will have the border as top. Then I will have border 1. I will have the border gray 200. So I provide the border and everything color, and then I will have the flex grow. Okay, so I have this div. I will just copy and put one more div here. Okay, and inside this I can create a third div where I can write my content. So I will have a div with a class name as text gray 600. Then I will have the text small. I will have the font light. I will have the padding right as 2, padding left as 2. All right, and in this div I can write my content. So my content was or enter the code manually. So you can also enter the code manually. So this is how it looks like. You have a QR code scan and everything. Then you have a 2FA QR code, which is a broken image. Then here we can have our secret code. Since there is no space here, so we will just give us some space here. So what I will do is I will have the padding right as 6 and padding left as 6. Okay, so we get some space here. Now let's continue to work on that. We have this div which we have created. Okay, and after this div we are going to have a div. I will have a class name as margin bottom 6. Inside that I'm going to have a input. There will be a read only field. I will have a default value which will be empty. Then I'm going to define a value. For now I will not give anything. I will provide some class name. Let's have that class name. So in the class name, what I will do is I will have the width as full, border rounded, margin top as 2, text size as XS, text color as gray, and padding 4. All right, and on this we will also have a button because this is a secret code. So when you click on it, either you copy it manually or you have a copy to clipboard feature. So I will have a copy clipboard. function. So we will have to write this function as well. So after this, we have this div done, and then we will have a button. So let's have a button. We are going to create a on click on that button, and this will be on setup complete. All right, and I'm going to give a class name. We are going to write this on setup complete as well. So I will have the width as full, background as blue, 500. I will have the text as white. Then I will have the padding on y-axis as 2. I will have the rounded as MD. Okay, so we have this button, and I will write continue to verification. Okay, so we have continue to verification, and then we export this. So if we go and check, we see that there is an error. I don't know why there is an error. If I go to console, so there are some functions which we have to write: copy to clipboard and on setup complete. Now this on setup complete is a prop that we are going to get it from this one. So first let me do this disable, and from here I'm going to get this prop. So I will have this on setup complete, and I will handle a setup complete. Okay, I will have to write this function. So I will have a navigate, which will be a use navigate. So let's have a use navigate. So when a user click on that continue on verification, we have to navigate the user to the verification. So I will have the on setup complete. This will be an arrow function, and with this arrow function we will do a navigate, and then we have to navigate to /verify -2fa. Okay, so this is how we will do it. We just navigated to the /2fa. So let's go back here. Now we will not have any issue on here, but we will have issue here, copy clipboard. So I'm going to go and create the function. So I will go here. I will have a constant copy clipboard. I will use an async here, and let's have this. I will have the await. I will have the navigator dot clipboard dot write text, and we are going to write the secret value which we are going to get it. So right now we don't have a secret value. I will just keep it as it is, and once we do it, we will also need to show the user that you clicked on that input box where a copy clipboard feature was enabled. It will say that secret copied to the clipboard. So what I will do is let's create the constant, and I will have a message, set message, which will hold the message value, and I will have the use state, and the state will be empty. Once a user click on it, I will set the message, and here I will set secret copied to clipboard. Now we have to display this message somewhere on the screen also. So what we will do is we will go here, and here we will just put that message. I will have message. If it's true, then in that case we will have the paragraph tag, and I will display that message. Okay, and here what I will do is I will provide some class names so that it looks a bit nice. So I will have a text green 600, text of small size, and margin bottom as 3. Now since we don't have a QR code and that secret yet, for that we have to make an API call and get those values. So what I will do is we will go here, and I will create a function. So I will have a constant fetch QR code. This will be a arrow function, and we're going to have an async here. Once we have it, we will also create a state variable to hold the response of it. So I will have a response, set response, and this is going to be a use state, and it's an empty object. All right, now let's make an API call here. So I will have a constant. We get the data whenever we do this API call await, and we have set up to FA in the auth API. Once I get this data, what I have to do is I will just set it in the response, and I will have the data here. Now we have to call this function whenever the route is loaded, we have to call it. So I will use the use effect, and in the use effect we are going to have the arrow function, and I will use the fetch QR code, and I want this to be run only once when the component is loaded. Okay, now this response, if we go and we do a console.log, then we have this response. So there are two values on this response. The first one is the QR code, and the second one is the secret. I can just define that. What I will do is I will have the data here. Since we already know the APIs, so I'm going to have the response dot secret here, and here we will be having the QR code. So on the QR code, what I will do is I will have the response response dot QR code. If we go and check, then you see that yes, we have the QR code, but we don't have a value here. So for the value, what we can do is we go here, we define the value. So the value is the response dot secret. So we will go and we'll see that we have it. If we go to the network tab, you will see that there is, as soon as we are refreshing the page, we are keep on getting the setup API get called again and again. So this is localhost 7001 API auth, and we go to the response, we see that we have a secret, we have a QR code. Now you can also go and check in the database, because this is also getting updated in the database. So I will just copy, I will go to the database, I will refresh the database, and I will just go and copy, and you see that the page logged in, and we see this one. If I refresh this again, then we just get logged out because we are not handling that session properly. But even if you go here and if we go to the cookies, you will see the cookies are not yet deleted, the cookies are still there, but we have to manage this session on the front end side. So here on the React side also, we have to manage this session. We have to store something on the session storage, the user information, because it's already logged in. We store it here, we will be able to retrieve it on the page refresh. Let's go and let's do that. So what I will do is I will go back to my session, and inside the session, what I will do is I will have a use effect. Okay, let's have a use effect here. I will have an arrow function. So before we write anything on the use effect, what we want to do is whenever we log in, we want to set the user into the session storage. So I will come here and I will use the session storage dot set item. We will set the user here. All right. And then we will have the JSON dot stringify, and then we pass the user data. So when a user is logged in, we are setting the values in the session storage. We have to do that when a user logged out, we have to remove that. So I will just put it now here. So this will be remove item from the session storage. All right. And we want to remove user. So we store it and we remove it. But whenever we do a page refresh, we have to retrieve the value from the session storage. All right. So what I will do is I will have first constant stored user. I will have JSON dot parse. I will go and check for the session storage, and I will do a get item. Let's have a get item of user. Now, if I find this user, then what I will do is I can also do a console log so that we know on the browser what we see there. So here the use effect runs, and then we have the stored user. Now, once we have this, what we will do that if we have this stored user, then we have to set the user again with this stored user. Now, along with that, we also set that user is logged in. So let's have the use user, and we put it as true. If we go back, if we refresh it, if we go in the session, we don't see anything. Let me have the page, and I will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I will click on login. Now this time you will see that the MFA was already active. So if I go and we see that the is MFA is active true, that means the user has already active the MFA. So that's why the user goes to the verify 2FA. But now if I refresh it, but we can see here that in the session storage, we see the user here. In the cookies also, we see the cookies. But there is some issue. We see that the use effect is running continuously. So we have to put the brackets here so that the use effect runs only once. Okay. So now it will run only once. If we go in the application, if we go into session, we see the user is stored here and the user logged in is at the page. And if we go to the cookies, we see the cookies. But if I refresh it, you will see that we still go to the login page, but we should have been stayed on the verify page. And the reason behind is that if I go here, and if we go into our protected routes, so I will just have a console log here so that you can understand this more better, because this is very important and this is going to be used for every time whenever you need to have this protected route authentication or you want to manage the session. The logged in user is logged in. Okay. Now if we go here, if I remove everything, I refresh it. Now I will have the page 6. I will log in and we see the logged in is true. That's why it goes to the verify UFA. But when we refresh it, you will see that for the logged in becomes false. And even though we have a user in our session storage, now we can remediate this with the help of a loading state, because we need to introduce here the loading state. So what I will do here is that I will go to my session. I will go here. I will create a new constant. And here what I will add is I will add a loading set loading. I will do use state. And then here I will have true. And what we will do is whenever we have this is stored, I'm going to go here and I will have that set loading false. Okay. Now with this, we will also take the loading state here. So I will have the loading here. Now if we go here, and now what we will do is, along with this we will also have a loading, and here we can add the loading state. So if we are going to check that if it's still loading, okay, then in that case what we need to do is we have to return, and we will just simply return a div, and I will have loading ... Okay, and if that is not the case, then it will go. Now if we go and check, let's try. So I will have the page, I will click on login, true, and now if you see that if I refresh it, we are still on the verify to FA because the user is logged in. We show a loading state for a fraction of a second whenever the system takes some time to check the user information from the session storage. All right, so we have fixed this part. Now let's work on the verify screen. Once we do the verify screen, we will be able to run the flow completely. So let's go back to the Visual Studio Code, and in the Visual Studio Code, first let's do the verification. So I will have the RSC. All right, and if I go to the verify, then here what I will do is I will have a constant. We are going to navigate somewhere from here. So I will use the use navigate, and in this use navigate, here also we will define the to verification component. And on this verification, either you will go to the home page or you can also reset your two-factor authentication. So that's why we are going to pass two props here. So first will be on verify success. So I'm going to change this to verify success. Then this will be handle verification, and then I will also have the another one which will be on reset success. Then in that case I want to have handle 2FA reset. Now we need to create these two functions. So let's create these two functions. So first one is constant handle verification, and in this what we will do is we are going to use the async, and here I will have that if I get the data back, so I will put the data. So whenever the verification is done successfully, the token is validated, we get a response back from the server. If we get that response back, then in that case I want to navigate the user to the home page because its two-factor authentication is complete. But if that is not the case, what I will do is I will have the handle 2FA reset. Then in that case I will have that if the reset is successful, then I want to navigate the user to set up again. So that means here going to set up it again. So I will have the set up -2FA. Okay, I will get the data here also. Okay, so this part is done. Now let's go and let's write this 2FA verification component. So I'm going to go here, and here what I will do is I will just copy the login form again because it's a very similar UI, and I'm going to just put the login form here. Okay, all right, now I have put the login form here. The first thing we will change is the function here. So I'm going to remove this, and this will be handle token verification. Okay, so this is going to handle the token verification. Then we are going to have this for the H2. This time the heading will be validate TOTP. Okay, then we are going to have the HR. Then we will have this text here. So I'm going to remove, and this time the text here will be please enter 6-digit time-based OTP to verify 2FA authentication. Okay, so we have it this here. Then we are going to have a label, and on this label we are going to have TOTP, and this label will now get changed to TOTP. The value would be the text. Here I'm going to change the value to be OTP. On change, what I will do is I'm going to have the set OTP. So this will be set OTP, and here I will have the enter your TOTP. Now we will only have one field, so I'm going to remove the other field for the password, and I will also remove this one. Okay, and now if you have any error, then in that case we will just display the error. Then we are going to have the button which will be type submit, and I'm going to remove this, and this will be verify TOTP. And then we will also need to have another button, so I'm going to also remove this, we don't want it. And I will have another button for the reset, so I will just copy, put it here. I'm going to change this to button, and I will change this to reset to FA. I'm going to change the color, so the color will be now slate 600, text is white and rounded, and let's have an on click function here. So I'm going to have on click, and on this I will have to handle the reset. So we have this one, and we also have this one. Here I will also give a margin bottom 3 so that we get some space between the two buttons. So let's define the functions first. So what I will do is first I will go here, I will have a constant, I will have the OTP set OTP, and this will be equals to the use state, and I will keep it as empty. After that I will also take the error state, so I will have a constant, I will have the error set error, and this will be equals to the use state, and I will have empty as well. Okay, now what I will have is I'm going to have the handle token verification. So this is going to be an arrow function where we are going to verify the token. So I will have the async here. It is going to give me an event. So I will have event.prevent default. And now let's have the try catch block. So for the try catch block, for the error block, what I will do is I will have the set OTP empty, and then I will also do a console.log of my error message. So I will have the error is error.message, and I will have the set error, and I will define invalid OTP. Okay, but if this is not a case, if everything is positive, then we will have the positive case here. I will have the data. This will be equals to the await, and I will have the verify to FA. I will have to pass the OTP here. So let's pass the OTP. Then once we have the OTP here, I will have on verify. Okay, so we have to take the two props here, and the props were, the first one was on verify success. Let's copy, put it here. The second one was on reset success. I'm going to copy, I'm going to put it here. All right, I will just disable the props for the entire file. Okay, and now here what I will do is I will have on verify success. I'm going to pass the data. So this is our handle token verification part. Now let's have the reset. So I will have the handle reset, and this will be equals to the async. I will have the arrow function here. I'm going to use the try catch again. If this is an error, then I will just copy. Let me copy, put it here. I'm going to remove this. This will be just error message. I will have the error.message. So I'm going to copy, put it here. If this is not the case, in that case, I will have a constant. I will get the data back. I will use the await, and I will use the reset function from the auth API. All right, once I have the reset function done, I will have the on reset success, and I will pass the data. So we still see that there is an error. If I refresh it, then we see this is how our screen looks like. Now once you have everything verified here, and if you go, we will also write the home page part. So let's go and let's write the home page as well. So for the home page, I will go on the home page here. Okay, and on the home page, what I will do is first we have to navigate from this home page. So I will use the use navigate. So you will have the use navigate hook. Okay, we will also take some values from our session. So I have the user, then I will also have the log out, and here what I will do is I will take it from the use session. Okay, we have these two values from the use session. Now let's create the JSX part for this. So for the JSX, I'm going to have a div with a class name as padding 6. I will have the background as white. I will have the rounded large. I will have the shadow MD, and then I will have the max W width for the medium device. I will have the max auto, and then I will have the MTS and margin top. Once I have all this, we're going to have another h2 tag, and in this h2 tag I will have a class. I will put the text as XL, then I will have the font semi bold. I will have the margin bottom as 4, and here I will define welcome, and let's have the user. So we can get the user value from the session. So I have the user dot username, and I will just provide an exclamation mark. Okay, once I have this, then I'm going to have a paragraph tag, and I will have that you have successfully logged in and verified your 2FA. Okay, and then in the end we will just have a logout button. So let's have a button. Type will be button. I will have a class name. I will have the margin top as 4, background as red 500. Then I will have the text as white. I will have the padding on x-axis as 4, padding on y-axis as 2, and I will have the rounded. Okay, and in this we are going to write the logout. All right, so we have this logout. Right now we are not writing any logout functionality, but we will just keep it as it is. Okay, now let's go and let's verify. So if I go back here, and if I go to my home page, okay, so I will see here, you also see the page here. Now what I will do is, we don't have any logout function here, so let's start with the login first. So I'm going to click on login. Now with this login, what I will log in is, I will log into the page. I will have my password. All right, since the two-factor authentication is already done, but we haven't stored our any authentication here, so I will just remove this. So I will just reset my two-factor authentication. So I'm going to click on the reset, and you see that the reset is clicked. This is simple warning, you can just ignore it. Fraction of a second, there is a broken image. So what we can do is, we can just fix that broken image. I can go to my, no, this is a verification, so I will have to go to the setup first. So I will go to the setup, and here if you see, then we have this one. So what we can do is, we can just put a condition here, if response.qr code. If the QR code is available, then do something. If not, then you have to do nothing. So I will have nothing here, and I will just take this cut and I will put it here, okay, so that it will work fine. So now we have it. I will just click on verification. I still did not scan the QR code or manually copy the secret, so I have to reset again, and this time you see that there is no broken image. So the first part is either you click on it, the secret is copied. You can go to any authenticator app. I am using this one. I can go here. All right, either I can just scan it, or the other option is I can go here, and if I want to add, I can add the manual entry. So I can click on the manual entry. I can paste the secret here. The issuer is the test company, and I can also provide the username. The username is the page. So if this that you don't have a camera or a scan app to scan the QR code, all right, but it's always easy that you have a camera or a scan app. So I'm going to copy this. All right, I'm going to go to the verification. I will go again here. I'm going to copy this. Let's go to the network tab. All right, and I'm going to put the QR code. I click on the verify, and you see that this is verified. 2FA is successful, and you have got the JWT token, which you can use it for the different purpose for your application. And you here see that welcome the page. You have successfully logged in and verified 2FA. Right now we don't have a logout feature, but we are soon going to write the logout feature as well. So let's go and let's try for another user. So I'm going to hit enter. Let's go to the login again. All right, maybe this time I log into Nikesh. Password is here. I'm going to click on login. Now the login is done. You see that the setup is being called twice, and you can just avoid this by removing the strict mode. So if I go here and if I go to the main JSX, I'm going to remove this. All right, and I'm going to remove this. All right, this is not recommended. I'm just showing you that how you can avoid it. So now you avoid it. You can see that it's only calling one time. This time I'm going to scan the QR code. I'm going to scan this. All right, you see Nikesh has been added. I'm going to click OK. I go here and I see that Nikesh is added here. Although I made a mistake, the issuer was www.depechemalware.com. I used a test company, which is wrong. So I'm going to copy this, click on verification. I'm going to go here and I'm going to put it here. But I can also make a reset here. So if I click on the reset, you will see that now it's reset. A reset function is called, and you see 2FA is reset. As soon as the reset function is called, the API, we go to the setup again and we have a new setup feature. So we have a new secret here. So what I will do is I'm going to scan again. So I will click here. I will scan again, and you see Nikesh has been added. Now here you will see that there are two Nikesh. One was the old MFA setup. One is the new MFA setup. So if I go click here and if I try to use the old one, so this is the old setup. So if I try to use the OTP from the old one, then I should not be able to log in. If I click on verify, now I got a bit confused which one was the old, but let's try one of them, but one of them will not work. So if I go back and if I go here and if I use this one and if I put it here and if I verify, you see the invalid OTP because this is the old OTP which you have set up it before, but this one is the new. So if I use the new one, if I put it here and if I verify, I see that it's getting verified. And all these values are also getting stored in the database. I mean, MFA is getting active. If I refresh, for Nikesh it's false. Let me refresh this. Now you will see that it's true for both of them. And if you want to set up again, then you can just reset it. Now let's write the logout part. So on the logout, what we need to do is if we go to the application, then on the logout, we have to clear the cookies, and on the logout, we also clear the session. Let's go and let's write the logout part. So I'm going to go to the home page. All right. And on the home page, we have this logout. Let's write the on click first. So I'm going to go here. I will have the on click, and here I will write handle logout. All right. I will go here. I will create a constant handle logout. This is going to be an arrow function. I'm going to use async here. I will have a try catch block here, and in the error I will just do a console.log error, and I will have the error.message. all right, but if it's not the case, then in that case I will have a constant. I will have a data which will be equals to the await. I will have the logout user. All right, now once we call the logout user, I will also have to call the logout, and I have to pass the data because with this data we also do something in the session. So with this data, we set is logged in false, we make the user null, and we remove the user from the session storage. Okay, and then I will also navigate the user back to the login. So I will have to navigate the user to log in. Now let's go and let's give a try. So if I go to the network tab, if I click on logout, I see that logout is done, 200 success. I also go back to my login screen. If I go to application, if I go to session, I see there is no session data stored. User is also removed. But if I go to the cookies, then you see that we still have the cookies. Eventually these cookies should have been deleted, but since the backend implementation seems not to be correct, it's not destroying the cookies and the session properly, we have to make a change in our logout API. So let's go and let's do that. So what we are doing is, when we are doing the logout, we also want to delete the session and the cookies as well, the cookies connect ID. So what we can do is, let's go to our backend part. In the backend, I will go to the controller, we go to the auth controller, and in the auth controller we have the logout somewhere. This is the logout function. So in the logout, we are not destroying our session. So now let's do that. What I will do is I will just remove this, and the thing we will do is we will do the request logout. All right, and this can throw us error, and we have a callback here. All right, now if there is an error, then in that case what we will do is we are going to have return next. We are just going to forward that error. All right, but if there is no error, then we are going to destroy the session. So we will have the request dot session dot destroy, and in this case we are going to have the error. Then what we will do is that if there is error, we are going to do the same thing again. We are going to return next and forward the error. All right, but now if you want to clear the cookie on the backend side, you can have a clear cookie. Then what we will do is we will have the response clear cookie, and here we are going to have the connect.sid. And this is we are writing the connect.sid is because by default, whenever we use the express session, so if I go here, then you will see that we are using the express session and we are defining the session here. Okay, so whenever we define the express session, by default the ID we have is the connect.sid. So this is the default session name. So we want to delete that, so we are removing it, and after we remove it, we will give the response status as 200 JSON, and then we have a message here as logged out successfully. All right, now we have changed in the backend. Let's restart our backend service. So I'm going to npm run. Okay, now let's create a new user. So I'm going to create a new user as maybe John, and 123456 is the password I'm setting. Now if I click on register, then in that case user registered successfully. We can go to the network tab and we can see. All right, let's log in with John. All right, if I click on login, then you see that the login is successful. So if I check here, I see a response user logged in successfully. Username is John, is MFA active is false. We haven't set up it yet. If I go to the application, in the session you will see that the user information, there is also a cookie here. Now let's go and let's scan this. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to scan the QR tag and I see John has been added. Okay, I can go here and I can verify that John has been added. Now let's go continue to verification. All right, now with this continue to verification, what I will do is I will add the OTP. Let's add a random OTP. If I click on verify, I see invalid OTP. If I want to reset it, you can just click on the reset and it will get reset, but I will not reset it now. If I go here, I take the OTP of John, I put it here. If I click on verify, I see that it's logged in successfully, 2FA successful, and I also get the token, JWT token, which you can use it for different purposes of your application. Now we will see that if I click on the log out, what actually happens. So if I go to the application tab, okay, now if I click on the log out, then you see the user is logged out. The cookies are cleared from the server. The session storage is also cleared. And if I go to the console or the network tab, you see the logout and logout is successful. Now, if you try to access the slash page, which is the home page, you will not be able to access it. If you try to access the setup 2FA, you will not be able to access it. You can create a new user, you can log in, you can go to the database and you can verify all the data is stored here. So we have the page, Nikesh, we have John. So if we go back to our code, then you will see that this is what the changes we needed to do on the backend logout API, which will destroy the session and which will also clear the cookies. So we have already created a complete MERN stack two-factor authentication system using Node.js and the React. So there was a lot of things we have learned in this project, especially how do we manage the session and cookies on the backend side, how we manage the same on the front-end React side using the context API. So I hope you liked the video. A thumbs up is appreciated. You can also connect with me via Facebook or Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter for latest updates. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss the videos like this one. Thank you. Thanks for watching.